Have you ever met someone who just seems to exist in a quieter space? They're the ones who listen way more than they speak, and their silence, it isn't empty at all. It's actually full of observation. Today, we're going to explore the inner world of these people, the deep thinkers. Let's really dive into the psychological patterns that make them tick.
Yeah, this quote, it just captures the essence of it so perfectly, doesn't it? Because it's not just about thinking, it's more of a state of deep observation. It's this constant engagement with all the subtle layers of reality that, let's be honest, most of us just miss in our daily rush. It's that tendency to see a whole universe of meaning in just one single quiet moment.
All right, so to really get a handle on this pattern, we have to go deeper. We need to move past what we see on the outside, that quiet exterior, and explore the rich and, yeah, often stormy landscape that's happening inside. So, at the very core of all this is something psychologists call high trait introspection. Now, this isn't just about reflecting on your day every once in a while. No. For deep thinker, it's a fundamental way of being. They're constantly scanning for meaning. And when they ask why, it's not to be difficult. It's because understanding the reason behind things is absolutely essential to how they process the world. And what's really fascinating here is how this all connects to our brain's wiring. All this internal activity, it's linked to a part of the brain called the default mode network. Think of it like the brain's imagination hub. It's the part that lights up when we're daydreaming or pulling up old memories or having one of those aha creative moments. And that's exactly why their minds are always constantly weaving together ideas that seem totally unrelated, finding patterns and metaphors in literally everything they see. Okay, but it is so important to draw a line here. Deep thinking is absolutely not the same thing as anxious overthinking. See, overthinking, that just gets you stuck in these loops of anxiety about what might happen. Deep thinking, though, that's a state of awareness. It's about questioning reality itself. It really is the difference between swimming in circles and actually diving for pearls. Of course, this kind of depth, well, it doesn't come without its challenges. Every light casts a shadow, right? And for the deep thinker, that shadow is woven from the very fabric of their own awareness. So let's take a look at what this encounter with the shadow actually means. And this really gets to the heart of the whole challenge. When you have that intense level of self-awareness, it means you don't just see all the world's complexities. You see your own with painful clarity. Every single flaw, every mistake, every insecurity is just lit up in high definition. That is the shadow that has to be acknowledged and ultimately worked with. And we're not just talking about some abstract idea here. This has real, tangible consequences. I mean, it can show up as this crippling self-doubt, or replaying one single conversation over and over for days, or even becoming so paralyzed by all the possibilities that you just can't make a decision. Your inner world can become filled with so much mental noise and this deep, profound sense of being totally alone. So what's the psychological engine driving all of this? It's something called metacognition. It's basically the ability to think about your own thinking. Now, most of us do this from time to time, sure, but the deep thinker, they live there. It's like having a constant observer perched inside your own mind, always questioning your thoughts, your motives, your desires. And look, it's an incredible tool for self-awareness, for sure, but man, can it be exhausting. Okay, so with all this intense internal activity going on, it becomes absolutely essential for deep thinkers to set up some psychological boundaries. And maybe the most important one is something that the outside world often gets wrong. Let's talk about the vital need for solitude. Yeah, and it is so important to get this distinction right. Solitude is not the same as loneliness. Loneliness is that painful feeling of not having connection. But solitude, for the deep thinker, is a conscious choice. It's necessary. It's the space they absolutely need to process everything, to untangle that crazy web of thoughts and emotions, and to finally find some clarity in all the noise. Exactly. It's not loneliness, it's restoration. This is where they hit the reset button. I mean, for a mind that's constantly absorbing so much from the world, all the emotions, the information, the unspoken tensions in a room, solitude is the one place they can finally hear their own quiet truth again. It's an act of restoration, and it's as vital to their well-being as breathing. So why is this restoration so critical? Well, it's because deep thinkers are often like detectives of emotion. They tend to have really high empathy and this almost uncanny ability to spot patterns. They can feel the subtle shifts in a room's energy, they feel the weight of things left unsaid, and they can literally absorb the emotions of other people. And while that sensitivity is a gift, it can also make life incredibly overwhelming. You need a space to detox from all that. So the big question is, how do you live with a mind like this? The journey isn't about trying to stop the thinking. That's impossible. It's about integrating it. It's about learning how to build a bridge between that rich inner world and the outer world, and turning that depth from a potential burden into a source of real, profound wisdom. And that path toward integration, it involves a few key things. First, it's about learning to just acknowledge all that mental noise without getting swept away by it. Just observing the thought spirals without judging them. Next, it's about anchoring that huge inner world in something tangible, connecting it back to reality through things like creativity or mindfulness out in nature, or even service to others. It's about turning reflection into action. And finally, it's about learning to find peace not in having all the answers, but in just becoming comfortable living with the questions. And that really is the great paradox, isn't it? The same mind that searches endlessly for truth and meaning eventually learns that real peace isn't found in the answers. It's found in presence. That's the culmination of the journey. Realizing that depth isn't about drowning in your thoughts, but about seeing things clearly enough to just float.
So we really have to reframe this whole way of being. Look, in a world that so often prizes speed and just surface level stuff, having this kind of depth can feel like a disadvantage. But it's not. It's a necessary and honestly a beautiful form of light.
Because at their best, when they learn to balance their inner and outer worlds, deep thinkers become these incredible bridges. They connect logic with empathy, intellect with intuition. They have this amazing ability to analyze pain and still hold deep compassion for it. They can see all the flaws in humanity and still, somehow, choose to love it. Now that is wisdom. And you should never, ever forget this. If any of this sounds like you, please don't apologize for your silence. Don't shrink your thoughts to try and fit them into smaller conversations. Depth in a shallow world is its own kind of light. And the world desperately needs people who see the invisible, who question the obvious, and who find meaning in the mundane. Your depth is not a burden. It is a light. So I'll just leave you with this to think about. What's the one question that your mind is kind of sitting with right now? Just notice it. And what might happen if you let it be, just for a little while, without needing an immediate answer? What could you discover in that quiet space of just letting it be? If this whole exploration resonated with you, feel free to consider sharing your own thoughts, or maybe subscribing for more journeys into the patterns of the mind. Thank you so much for joining us on this quiet exploration today.